Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT 90.1 FM Houston, your community radio station. We have a great program for you today, but we have a great program for you every week. The title of the program is Activist Kandice Webber, Conservative Bill Kristol, an event with Senator Raphael Warnock, and living wage. Okay. Houston and national activist and registered nurse Kandice Webber is back in Houston, and she continues to fight injustice. Today, she details what she says is the betrayal by State Representative Harold Dutton. Former Republican and still conservative Bill Kristol explains why voting in 2022 is binary. You are either voting for democracy or you are voting for autocracy. Tiffany Cross's guest on The Cross Connection explains why small businesses that object to the minimum wage are no different than capitalists wanting the perks of slave labor. You know, you get labor for cheap, you get that much richer, that much faster. That's what it's all about. That is called exploitation of human beings. We devolve right back into indentured servitude. We can't have that. We just can't have that. And lastly, Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church Social Justice Ministry presents Justice Rising, Faith Dismantling Injustice. The keynote speaker of their virtual forum conducted on May 21st and May 22nd is none other than U.S. Senator Dr. Raphael Warnock. Yes, that Raphael Warnock, that guy who won that victory in Georgia that nobody thought could have happened. Visit wheelerbc.org/events. wheelerbc.org/events. Wheeler is spelled WHEELERBC.org/events to register. We will have the link in the correspondent blog and the newsletter and everybody else. But folks, please remember, we're in fund drive mode. And we are way behind in fund drive mode. As you know, the issues with our station right now, having to pipe things in as best we can because of the pandemic. Well, we're getting out of the pandemic now, and what we need more than anything else is your support. Why do we need your support? We need to rebuild stronger than ever. We have to make sure that the part that we are going to play in this revival in this country is going to be on the right side of history. So folks, we need your support. We need you to call 713-526-5738. Again, that is 713-526-5738. Or please go to kpft.org, kpft.org, and please contribute in the name of Politics Done Right for KPFT. Please contribute whatever you can. Now, Politics Done Right is offering a whole lot of goodies this time around. 3 books, 3 of my books. First one, as I see it, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. My second book, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors. And the third book, How to Make America Utopia. Take away the economy from those who rigged it. Again, 3 books. And you know what we're offering? Of course, you know, when you get these giveaways that we have here, when you pay for these giveaways, what you're really doing is you're supporting the station. So any one of those books that you want, $120 subscription, $120 contribution is what I should say. Any two of those books is a $200 contribution. And then if you get the three books, all three books, it's a $250 contribution. So I'm asking you so kindly to support the station by getting one of our books. But look, you don't have to do that. First of all, if you go ahead and contribute for the books, remember you don't have to pay it all at once. But I tell you, if you don't want to do that, please consider becoming a member of the station. It's as low as $25, $40, whatever you want to contribute, because we need your support irrespective of how you can do it. I want to give a big, huge thank you to Susan Pollard. Susan Pollard came through for us, and she gave us a very good donation. We need thousands more, folks. We are way behind our 200,000 mark that we have to reach to get all our bills paid, to get that 100,000 watt transmitter going. So before we get started, please remember to keep your community radio station, KPFT, in your minds. Talk about it. Tell your friends to tune into 90.1 FM Houston or listen to it at kpft.org. Likewise, keep our 100 watt station that covers the entire Southeast Texas on air by donating. Again, donating. I gave you those options with our books. You can donate whatever you can, but please, please, please donate. Support the station. 713-526-5738. I'm giving you a full program today. A full program. But we still have to make sure and get this in. 713-526-5738. Please do it now. We still have a couple of minutes before we start those grandiose things that we just spoke about. So call 713-526-5738 or go to kpft.org and please contribute. Hit that red button, contribute. Hit that donate button, contribute in the name of Politics Done Right for KPFT. Make sure that we can keep this program on air. 713-526-5738. This is your community station. This is the only real community station that's open to everybody that's left in the entire Southeast Texas. 713-526-5738. I ask you so kindly to please contribute. Please make sure we are around. Make sure that your station, the one that's here to tell you the truth, sticks around. Lastly, remember, you can get Politics Done Right Mondays through Fridays on Facebook Live at facebook.com/politicsdoneright, facebook.com/politicsdoneright, or on YouTube Live at politicsdoneright.com/YouTube, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. Please do not forget to follow me on Twitter for updates. My handle is at Egberto Willies, spelled EGBERTOWILLIES. But first and foremost, folks, please give us a call, 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738, or go to kpft.org. That is kpft.org. Click that donate button, contribute, whether you call or you go online. Remember to do it in the name of Politics Done Right so that we can keep KPFT on air. But you know what, folks? You know what time it is? It's time for us to let's get busy. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. This one has state ramifications, but if you listen to what Kandice is going to tell us, this is stuff that we have to cover throughout the country. Kandice Webber, she is a nurse. She's one who went during our pandemic and saved a lot of lives. Kandice Webber, she is a political activist here in Houston, Texas, that never forgets that you have to be politically involved. Kandice, welcome to Politics Done Right. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me back. One of these times we're going to get on and we're going to hang out and just chat it up about our wins.
Yes, we will. But look, Kandice, I want to get busy with what's going on here in Texas. Texas legislature right now is a mess.
Yes.
We have a whole lot of laws that are being passed that, that shouldn't be. But when you have a unforced error that isn't really an unforced error,
right,
it's an issue. And we're talking about Senate Bill 29, and as well as other bills associated on the House side with that.
Right.
Harold Dutton, a Democratic state representative, he decided to do something heinous. So I'm going to leave it to you to explain in detail to the audience what has happened here over the last few weeks.
I've spoke about Harold Dutton many times before. I am a huge advocate for traditional public education. And Harold Dutton is at it again, quite frankly. So 3270, House Bill 3270 was yet another attempt by Harold Dutton to take over HISD in particular, but then open the floodgates on hostile school takeovers by the Texas Education Agency. Now, the bad part about this, and actually there are no good parts about it, is this bill that Dutton authored. First of all, it was very poorly written. And I am thankful to Dr. Allen for being keen on proofreading, right? It was a poorly written bill. But this bill would have been one retroactive, okay? So nobody's safe from that happened in the past. Like, we're going to go back in the past and we're going to get you, right? So this bill would have been retroactive. It would have completely given an unelected bureaucrat the ability to take over our schools for whatever reason they deem necessary, to be investigated for whatever reason they saw was necessary to be investigated. This unelected bureaucrat gets to take over our school districts in all of Texas, and we have no process to appeal his decision. There is no judge and no court, no jury that can overturn his decision. It is what it is. We have to take it, and there is absolutely nothing that can be done about it. Does that sound like a democracy?
It's not a democracy, but sadly, Kandice, as I understand it, that bill went down.
Yes. So the bill dies, but the bill dies because it's poorly written, and I don't want that to be lost on anyone. The bill didn't die because of its lack of moral, just presence of morality, right? We keep it real basic. It died on technicality. So late I'm talking 1-2 o'clock in the morning is when it died. I'm watching this happen, right? So the very next morning, before the news cycle really even breaks, Harold Dutton has decided to revive Senate Bill 29 that was shut down in his education committee. This is where I almost lose it, right? Because Harold Dutton is intentionally bullying the children of Texas because he didn't get his way. He didn't get his takeover bill. He can't take over HISD. He's going to throw trans kids to the wind like they're collateral damage.
Tell us what he did, because that was so sad.
So he goes and he says that, and full on said that in retaliation for 3270 being voted down, taking this back to the House committee, and we're going to revote on it. right? And so then when it was voted down, he abstained even the first time. He still didn't fight for trans kids. He just abstained from voting. This time, when it goes back in front of his committee, he votes yes, and so does Betancourt. So now we've got the wins that they've got the win that they need to put this in front of the House. The dirty politics. He played dirty politics and leveraged trans kids to teach other legislators a lesson. And so now when we thought that we were done fighting SB 29, the parents of trans kids all over this state and really all over this country, because there's a lot of people that watch what happens in Texas politics and they try to push things in that same way, right? So the parents of trans kids thought that they were off the chopping block this time because they're always on the chopping block in Ledge, always. They thought they were safe. And then like a thief in the night, right? Harold Dutton takes their safety from them. What kind of person does that?
I want to read something from you from the Texas Tribune. It said as follows: after his bill was stalled, Representative Lina Ortega, Democrat of El Paso, who worked with Allen on the objection that you spoke about, said she saw Dutton walk toward her at the back of the chamber. He said something to the effect of, "Because of what you did, SB 29 is coming back up," Ortega said. In other words, since you guys didn't give me the bill that I want, I am going to screw those kids, and it's going to be on you that I'm going to screw these kids because you didn't give me what I want. Has nothing to do with the legislation, everything to do with you didn't give me what I wanted.
Right. Petulant child. But this is the same man that thinks that he has the ability to stand judgment over our children who are burdened, heavy burdened by his bad legislature because of what you did. Now I'm going to go out here and hurt some children. We don't need people like that on any side. You know, how is this man not considered a full-on predator? Like he is like public education enemy number one. And unfortunately, this man looks like me, you know, like it's my kids, children that look like me that are getting hurt the worst. You know, it's LGBTQIA kids that are getting hurt, targeted the worst. And for what?
Let's talk about for what. Let's really talk about for what, because the reality is nobody does what he does unless there's some ulterior motive. And I think it is this, given the state of the legislature right now, it is more than time to speculate what could be driving him and hunting down what could be driving him. So tell me what you found.
Okay, so, and this is actually, you know, and I've said it many times, anything I say, please fact check me, because when you're looking to make sure I'm correct, you're gonna find more things and maybe some I didn't find, so share, right? So this is a real quick search on Transparency USA, right? Dutton's top donors, Texas Trial Lawyers Association, Texas Realtors Political Action Fund, Charter Schools Now, PAC. We've got Texas lawsuit reform. Just those right there is every single reason he has to gut public education.
Exactly.
By any means, okay, by any means at all, because we've talked about charter schools, right? Charter schools, if you're for charter schools, then that means it's good for real estate development. Take the best land for little of nothing and create these multi-million-dollar structures that we can't afford to live in the first place, right? We're talking about trial, mass incarceration of Black kids. You're on the education committee, and you can push straight through every bill you want to that fast tracks our kids to the school of prison pipeline. You know what I'm saying here? And then charter PACs just flat out, you know, number 3 on the list. You know, we don't even need to dig into that, but this man is bought.
It is clearly that's what's, and what we have to get clear, Kandice, is the following, right? Because many charter schools have Black fronts on it. In other words, it seems like, oh, Black people who are saying the public education system is not working for them, and we have these Black professionals that own these charter schools supposedly are going to come in
Right,
and solve and save the day, as opposed to having our system fix the damn schools.
right, right.
Right? The
Right.
system should fix
Absolutely.
the public schools.
Absolutely.
I want you to point this out. I think you pointed this out before. Charter schools, first of all, cost more than
Traditional
public
schools.
schools. And the
Yes,
reality is teachers make less and you get what you pay for.
that's exactly right.
So please
Exactly.
explain why, all the propaganda and all the media that goes into trying to make charter schools look like something that's good. Explain to us why it's a danger, and specifically a danger to POCs.
So charter schools are actually, there's many things that make charter schools a danger, and in that itself, because it feeds so many other bad systems. It really is, charter schools are a super predator on Black and brown kids, right? So charter schools offer, and I'm just going to really speed this up, but charter schools offer less education um, for the same cost, if not more, than you will get in a public traditional school. The only difference is they get these land grabs so they can dress up this box real nice, real pretty, and make you think that you're getting something better than you did in that traditional school. But the reality of it is your child is funding that, right? So wherever your child goes, the dollars go. If your child goes to a traditional public education school, it's a huge pot, right? If your child goes to a charter school, it's a much smaller pot. And they are not regulated by the state the way the public education system is. So they can whoop your child if they want to, right? They can force your child to learn things that you don't want them to learn. Like, our ancestors weren't slaves. They were actually indentured servants. They can do all kinds of wild stuff because Texas Ledge, the State Board of Education, does not dictate what their curriculum should look like. Okay, so now these charter schools are here. They're selecting the best of us to go to these schools. So the rest of us, we are stuck at a poorly funded traditional school. And that just makes the rest of us who are just regular old people going through regular old stuff look horrible, right? So then more people start moving out of the neighborhood. My kid can't go to this good school over here. But if I make a decision to live 35 minutes away from my job, 35 minutes away from my church, my everything, then my kid can go to a little bit better school. So now that I'm gone, my property's up for grabs. Now, I'm a single mom, like in the best situation. I'm a single mom. I just up and moved. I'm going to try to get as much as I think I can for my land. And just to throw out a number here, I'm going to say I'll take $100,000. Well, my quarter-acre lot for $100,000 just got turned into a couple of million for these scavengers that are in line with these charter schools because they bought it for nothing and flipped it for something that we will never be able to see the inside of. This is what Harold Dutton is supporting. So yeah, Harold Dutton is a problem because Harold Dutton has no problem making deals with people who intentionally do us harm. We don't need Dan Patrick's when we have Harold Dutton's. You know what I'm saying?
And he's actually more dangerous than Dan Patrick because,
way more
because the
dangerous.
mere fact that you see him as somebody who would be fighting for you, we already know Dan Patrick is the enemy.
Right.
We know that. Dan
Yes.
Patrick cares nothing about us, but we would have an indication that this guy maybe cares about us. And that is why you speaking out is so important, because we have to get people to understand and not buy the rhetoric, but understand how things work. And the reason I wanted to get into charter schools specifically is we understand that that is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to privatize public education into a private system, and in that fashion, enrich a few. And the thing about it is we get nothing.
Right, exactly. And so, when we've talked before, we always want to connect the dots, right? I want to spend a little bit of time connecting dots.
Please do.
For people right now. And I want to make sure I get the numbers right, because this is some big deal kind of stuff. All right. So Um, Senate Bill 1365 is the companion to Harold Dutton's poorly written bill. Well, Betancourt is a whole lot better at writing these bills, right? But it is the exact same nefarious thing. And Paul Betancourt also, charter schools, Charter Pack now is one of its biggest donors.
Right.
Okay. So House Bill 1365 here is coupled. This bill right here is intended initially to take down HISD. But what it also does is opens the gates to take up any school district that they want. Like I am from Washington County, Brenham, Texas,
Right.
Bluebell ice cream, fields of bluebonnets, right? Rolling hills. And I grew up there. When I tell you those Bluebell commercials are, no, we don't ride cows to school and whatnot, but the rolling hills, the beauty of Washington County is exactly what they say it is. Now let's talk about real estate. Again, let's apply that, right? Let's apply how charter schools work. So the school district, Brenham ISD, is failing, okay? It is failing. There are schools that are having very difficult times, right? Well, this bill right here, all the TA commissioner has to do is take a look over at Brenham. We're like, you know what? They've done it one too many times. Let's take it over. And once he pulls the trigger on it, now what happens in my neighborhood here in urban areas is going to happen in your pretty
Brenham,
little
Texas.
rural towns, right? Because you're going to get so much money for a quarter lot here in the tray in Third Ward. Can you imagine what you will get? What the turnaround you will get on an acre in rural Washington County. So those poor white people up the way with co-course and all of them fine individuals, they need to be paying attention to this bill. This bill is not, it starts with my house, but it is meant to take their house over too, because their property looks just as good to real estate development as mine does.
You have to feed the beast.
You have to feed the beast.
And the beast is going to eat what's easy to get first.
Yep.
And they just use us training material on how to get the rest.
Right, exactly. This is playbook. And the charter industry has done this all over this country. You know, it's the same play by play, right down to you've got a spread of electeds that you're in their pocket. You've got one infiltrator, right? That looks like the communities that you want. You're one Trojan horse.
Harold Dutton.
I used to think it was AJ Craybill. Wrong. It's Harold Dutton.
Right.
Right. To sell your mission, to make you look not so racist, right? You've got these unexpected communities, underserved and disenfranchised parents. You know, it's play by play. It happens in every single state. And the same people are getting fatter and fatter and wealthier. And our children are hurting because of it. I mean, right now, we've got House Bill 3979 is literally the old dude from, and I say old dude from the Woodlands because right now I'm getting like fired up because you know how I feel about our kids.
Yes.
This guy wants to pass a bill to make sure that government and history teachers are not teaching critical race theory. They're not teaching the truth, that pretty much you have everything you have because of white supremacy and a government that feeds and supports white supremacy. They don't want to talk about that, but this is the thing. This is the thing that really kills me. This is why I look at Harold Dutton, Black woman to Black man, and shake my damn head. Because right now, they're doing stuff like this that is intentionally putting their knees on our necks, because the State Board of Education is already Republican run. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So there is no need for you to do something like this, because the organization where it rests, the responsibility rests with that group right there, they're already on your team. And they're already setting the curriculum. So you would have to actually fix something that isn't broken for this to pass. You are intentionally trying to hurt our children. And instead of Harold Dutton blocking for me, for our color, he's out here trying to do us harm. We can't even watch cats like this from the woodlands because we're too busy watching our own. Harold Dutton got to go. It's
So
a
give me,
wrap.
Kandice, give me a closer and give us a mission. What should we
Okay.
do?
Here's my closer. If you live in District 142, if you are Black or brown, and you are serious about running, if you are serious about challenging Harold Dutton, there's a very long list of people, including myself, that would love to talk to you. We want to find out what you think your challenges are so we can help you mitigate any type of risk, because Harold Dutton has got to go. You deserve better. Our children deserve better. And there is one of you in District 142 that will do right by our kids. We want to talk. We're interested and we want to help.
And they will be 100% supported by a huge group of dedicated grassroots activists, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Kandice Webber, it's been my pleasure to have you on Politics Done Right. As usual, thank you so kindly for all that you do for the community. Thank you so kindly for all that you do for Texas. And to put it bluntly, thank you so kindly for what you have done for the country. You have been all over this country, from Pennsylvania all the way back, as you've been a nurse helping out with our pandemic. Keep up the good work.
I'm home now. You tell Harold Dutton Kandice is home.
He knows.
Game on.
He
All
knows.
right.
Thank you so kindly.
Thank you.
A lot of those objecting to an increased minimum wage are small business people, and sometimes you wonder why. They're like, oh, it's going to put us out of business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, Tiffany Cross had a guest on the Cross Connection that said it best. I want you to listen to her, and then let's take it on the other side, because this is prescient.
There are still 8 million fewer jobs than when the pandemic started. Dorothy, I'm going to kick this to you. There are almost about 268,000 workers who stand to lose their benefits outright. And these include a lot of people in the gig economy, like Uber drivers and other folks who are self-employed. Is this an argument for the government to get in the business of enforcing a livable wage? And if so, what does that look like?
Oh, absolutely. And there was a letter sent to the Department of Labor asking the federal government to step in now that the Republican governors are pulling out. So there may be movement. There may be a fix in the works. But you have to think about it. If the only way a small business owner can make a profit is by exploiting labor, then I'm sorry, you shouldn't be in business. Because that's an excuse for why there was enslavement. Okay? I can turn a profit if I don't have to pay my workers anything because I don't treat them as people. So there has to be a move towards a livable wage. Our minimum wage is an abomination. That has to change. And you always get the pushback from small business owners. Oh, I can't make a profit. Maybe you need to get in a different line of work. If your only ticket to making a profit is exploiting people, that cannot be the right answer.
If your only ticket for your profitability is to exploit others, to pay others, sometimes full-time, a wage that doesn't allow them to have health care, a wage that doesn't allow them to pay their own rent with that one salary, then you probably don't have a business within a functioning society. And many times these are the same business people that object to things like health care for Medicare for all. These are the same businesses that object to giving child care. When if we supported policies that made us a livable society, that business person could pay wages commensurate with what society needs. But anyhow, look, I'm an activist. You can't get rich doing activism. I write books, all that sort of thing. I work 16 hours a day. There are a lot. I could get somebody to, intern, come and do this XYZ. My ethics, my morals don't allow me to do that because I know I am not going to be able to pay them what they're worth. My listeners sometimes will say, hey, Berto, we'll help you. And I say the only reason I'll accept that help if I know that is for the cause that we're activating for, and not that for a salary or something, because I know we couldn't pay those folks who are well deserving. That baker, that candlestick maker that's making minimum wage or just a little bit above. It's not fair. And what she said is absolutely right. If your profitability depends on exploiting somebody else, you don't have a business. Or maybe you're not working hard enough at your business to ensure that you're profitable. All right, folks, please don't forget, call 713-526-5738. We have great offers for you, starting with my books, How to Make America Utopia. How to Make America Utopia. Take away the economy from those who rigged it. It's worth it. How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors. And As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. Again, you can get these books. Get any one of these books for a $120 contribution. Any two of these books for a $240 contribution. Any three of these, for $200 contribution. Every three of these books for $250 contribution. So that's $120, $200, or $250. Again, depending on whether you get one, two, or three. Why not get them all three? Start reading As I See It, because that gives you the presentation about our economy, how things work, how the presidents that came about since Reagan, how did we change from a liberal economy to one that is nothing more than an antiseptic slave economy. The second book, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors. Think about this. It's worth it. If we are going to make change, we have to not just speak to the choir. We have to talk to everybody. And that's what we do. And we talk about how to do it in It's Worth It. How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors. And lastly, How to Make America Utopia. Now that we've gotten everybody that we want, now that we are able to talk to everybody, how do we attain what we want? How do we describe what we want? How do we make our own utopia? Now we can do it because the masses no longer led by the plutocracy. Together we can do it. That's the idea behind the sequence of these books. So get any one of these books, $120. Any two of these books, $200. Or any three, well, it's only three, $250 contribution. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Please, folks, please support our station. Make sure that we are here again. Thank you so kindly. Let's continue. Now it's time to listen to conservative Bill Kristol. And you know what? After what he says, even progressives are going to like what he has to say. Today we have a very special guest. Well, we know we do 25% or so that are conservative. Well, everybody knows Bill Kristol. Bill Kristol is a conservative stalwart. He is the director of Defending Democracy, a fellow at Harvard's Institute of Politics Kennedy School, and the editor-at-large at The Bulwark. We all recognize Mr. Kristol as the ardent defender of the conservative positions on every TV, radio, network, and at conferences throughout the nation. In fact, I met him at the Bridge Alliance. It is for this reason that his turn against his former party is of utmost importance and something that we better get beyond. Mr. Kristol, Bill Kristol, welcome to Politics Done Right. How are you doing today?
Thanks. It's great to be with you and good to be on your show. I don't know that my turn is of utmost importance, but I'm happy to talk about it for a few minutes anyway.
Well, look, let me tell you, actually, I think having somebody like you, I don't know, have you left the party or not?
Well, in Virginia, we don't have party registration, so that's how I ducked that question. I haven't voted for a Republican really since Trump became president, because even down ballot, though there are some individually decent Republicans, if you're running for the House in 2018 or 2020, you're running as a Trump supporter, basically, or as a supporter of Kevin McCarthy, who's a Trump supporter. And even at the state level, it sort of trickles down. The Trumpization of the Republican Party here in Virginia has been pretty striking. If you followed the primary last week, the convention, and so forth, the race for the Republican nomination for governor here. So yes, I'm not a loyal Republican anymore. I'm not sure I'm really a loyal Democrat yet, so I'm just sort of in between, like a lot of Americans, I guess.
But you're still a conservative to the core, correct?
Mostly. I mean, I was probably always a little too heterodox to be a conservative to the core. I always respected American liberalism. I worked for liberals, Cold War liberals, you know, not moderate liberals, you might say, in the 70s, Scoop Jackson, Pat Moynihan, and always tried to cross party lines when I thought it was appropriate. Supported Bill Clinton on his intervention in Bosnia and Kosovo, for example. So, you know, I don't think I was ever maybe quite as dogmatic or staunch a conservative as some other people. But no, I certainly, and I remain conservative on many issues: American leadership in the world, free markets, lots of issues where I don't agree with my progressive friends. But I do believe that liberal democracy is the most important thing, and on that, unfortunately, the Republican Party, one of our two major parties, is no longer a reliable supporter of really core aspects of our free government, of our liberal democracy.
Well, look, Bill, I remember watching you on TV so often, pulling out the hairs that I don't have. And then I remember going to the Bridge Alliance. I'm allied with the Bridge Alliance as well. And because I really believe in that we all have to get together. All the parties need to get together for a common good. That's what I preach on my show as well. And but watching you on TV right now, it's always, oh God, the man is right. The man is right. Now, I am not sure exactly if you have made a change, or is it that we've moved so far to the right that it seems like you've made a change. Deep inside of your heart, what do you think it is?
It's a good way of putting the question. So I'd say some of both. I think more the movement to the right or against democracy. I would say you can be a very staunch conservative against all kinds of government programs. You can be for a very aggressive U.S. role in the world. You can be for free markets, as I said before, and in all kinds of ways, and reducing government size. But you can still be very strongly for the core institutions of liberal democracy. So I don't think I've moved a bit. I think you'd have to, when the Republican Party, the Conservative Party, produces Donald Trump and then defends Donald Trump and renominates Donald Trump, I think you'd be foolish not to say, what was there something wrong, something more problematic about the conservatism I embraced, about the Republican Party I supported? And I think the answer is yes. There were some things I didn't see or didn't want to see or didn't see clearly enough. But I also think the more important thing, frankly, is the party has changed so much. And American conservatism, which once rejected anti-democratic extremes mostly, but I think pretty consistently. I spent a lot of time fighting Pat Buchanan in the 90s and a little time fighting Ron Paul in the 2000s and fighting Bill Buckley fought extremism on the right and so forth. That's totally collapsed. And so the change in the party, I mean, who cares about me? The change in the party and in the nature of conservatism to some degree in America, that's in the Republican Party, that's really the important thing and the dangerous thing.
Now, for those who've said that Donald Trump has really brought out who the Republican Party has always been, and with your introspection on saying maybe there were things that you didn't see or didn't want to see, how would you respond to that?
I think Trump brought out some things that were always there, some things that one knew were there. Look, it's a huge country and there are 60 million, 70 million people voting for Republican candidates. You can't monitor every one of them, obviously. So there were always sort of unpleasant aspects to the party, and sometimes they flared up. And normally, I think they were either suppressed or at least shoved aside. As I say, we probably thought we had suppressed them more than we had. We were probably turned a blind eye to certain aspects or didn't want to see certain things, I think, on some issues. So no, Charlie Sykes, my friend and colleague, says that, likes to say that it's right to say that there was a recessive gene in the Republican Party that was probably nativist, somewhat racially bigoted, mean-spirited, kind of conservative, defending people who've made it and not doing as much as it should to help people who could use a hand from government and so forth. But it was a recessive gene mostly. I mean, it was kept in under, you know, we suppressed it, so to speak. But recessive genes don't go away, and in this case, it's really flared up with Trump, no question. I mean, I supported Jack Kemp, who was the kind of Republican I think who did
I like
try
Jack Kemp.
much harder to think about a positive role for government, a market-friendly positive role. So anyway, I think there've always been different strains. Look, these are huge. America has two political parties. They're huge. They have many different factions and elements, and you know, I don't even know what to call them, strains within them. But I do think, yes, the party was not as healthy as I thought, but it was nowhere near as unhealthy as it's now become.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Now, I love on your website, and folks, the website is defendingdemocracytogether.org, defendingdemocracytogether.org. You wrote this: "We believe in an American exceptionalism," reads the opening line of the 2016 Republican Party platform. "We believe the United States of America is unlike any other nation on earth. Yet today, the Republican Party finds itself entertaining some of the same unsettling nativist and authoritarian impulses that characterized Europe throughout the 20th century. These ideals are antithetical to what it means to be a Republican and what it means to be America." Why did I read that? Right now, there is a mission to create I don't know if it's an alternative Republican Party. I don't know if it's just an alternative party. First of all, are you a part of that movement?
I'm friendly to those guys, to the people who signed that statement. I didn't sign it myself. It goes a little far for me in the third party direction, whereas I think I'd be worried that just to set up a third party would divert voters' attention from the fact that probably in 2022 and 24, we have a binary choice, really, and the choice is the Biden administration and a Democratic Congress, which that has some strengths and it has some weaknesses as well. But the choice is that or the current Republican Party. So I don't want people to sort of, but look, I think it's very important to challenge the Republican Party from within. I support what Liz Cheney's tried to do. We have the Republican Accountability Project at Defending Democracy Together, which tries to support Republicans who voted for impeachment, for conviction, who are challenging the conspiracy theorists, challenging the people who have embraced the big lie. So the more sane Republicans, the better. I'm sort of pessimistic, though, honestly, about saving the Republican Party. I'm sort of pessimistic right in the short term about third party options, which makes me kind of a Biden Republican, I guess.
Wow. Coming out of your mouth, that is huge.
I don't know if it's huge, but it's just, I'm trying to be realistic about what matters, you know. And I wouldn't design some of the spending programs the way Biden has. I wouldn't do a lot of other things he and the Democratic Congress are trying to do. Some of them I think are going to be modified in directions that will make me more comfortable with them. But again, those things, spending 23% versus 21% of GDP on federal programs, tax rates of 40% instead of 36%, they pale by comparison with the threat the Republican Party, as it's constituted now, in its following of Donald Trump, in its enabling of Trump, and in its embrace of the big lie, in its refusal to repudiate what happened truly on January 6th and what happened before that to make possible January 6th. I mean, that's not a party. That's a party that needs to be kept out of power, I think.
Now, since now that you brought that up, I think it's important. Your friends, Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell, these were people that I think some had a lot of respect for. I think in the past you've respected them. What are your thoughts about the machinations that they're going through, as opposed to being leaders of their pew, instead being followers of the crazies?
Yeah, I think, and I think they both have failed to rise to the occasion, to say the least. Mitch McConnell, I would say, has at least occasionally said the right thing and has not tried to echo Trump as much as he might have, though he enabled Trump for 4 years, no question, as Senate leader, Senate Majority Leader. McCarthy, I think, is much worse in the sense that we've now purged Liz Cheney, and he's got Elise Stefanik, and he's endorsed her for number 3 in the House, and she's just fully on board. She's all in on the craziest of the conspiracy theories in Arizona and elsewhere. She voted to overturn the at least one slate of electors on January 6th. McConnell certainly didn't do that. So, McCarthy did. I think of it this way: McCarthy, Scalise, and Stefanik will be the leadership of the House, I suppose, if Stefanik wins tomorrow. And they all voted to overturn the electors on January 6th. Really something that's so beyond the pale. Whatever you think of the Senate Republicans, I think only 8 or 9 of them, I can't remember, voted to do that. McConnell certainly didn't and spoke against it. So it's a little difference between McConnell and McCarthy, but basically neither of them has stood up to Trump. But basically, it's unbelievable how few elected officials, especially at the federal level, have stood up. Mitt Romney has been a consistent voice. He hasn't really, I've got to say, could have done a little more. I think he said the right things, and I respect him highly for that. And he's taken a huge amount of grief. He hasn't tried to mobilize exactly people against Trump. Adam Kinzinger in the House has. There have been other instances of individuals.
Well, there are 10 of them, yeah.
10 of them voted for impeachment. I give them a lot of credit. The reason why Liz Cheney is important is that she has said she wants to not just say the right thing now, she wants to lead an effort to save the party from Trump. None of the others has been on board for doing that. A couple of people, Joe Walsh and Bill Weld, tried to run for president against Trump. I salute them for the effort, but it turned out there was just not enough support. They probably weren't the perfect leaders of that, though they tried, and I give them credit too. But I think the reason Cheney's interesting is a true conservative who supported Trump much longer than I thought wise, but she wanted to go bend over backwards to see if the party could just kind of, deal with Trump for 4 years, not pay too high a price, and then he would be defeated, he would leave, and they could get things back to normal. He was defeated, he didn't leave easily, he whipped up a huge conspiracy theory and an attack on America, really, and I think this really shocked Liz Cheney. Not just that he did that, but the number of people who were willing to go along. And that's why I think she voted for impeachment. I mean, she was appalled by what she saw on January 6th, but that's why she's been so forceful for the last 3 or 4 months. She understands in a way that the others don't, that this is really a disaster, not just for the party, as she said, but for the country. And so to her credit, she now wants to lead an effort to fight it within the party. We'll see how much support she can rally, but she's a formidable figure. And so I think there's some hope there. But you may also find there isn't that much support for her, at least in the short term, within the party. It's still an important thing to do. And she may decide in 2 years to, that the party isn't the place to stay. She puts country first over party. John McCain put country first. It's regrettable how few others do.
I wonder, though, I talk to a lot of people. I live in a very red area here in Texas. And, it's amazing to me that I don't see in my area the sort of craziness that I see. And I wonder how much of the party is really crazy. And as much as he got 74 million votes in the election, which always concerned me. But Elise Stefanik and Josh Hawley, both from elitist colleges, from Ivy League colleges, they're playing games, right?
Yeah, and look, I think on your point, I think a chunk of the party is most of the party is not crazy. Most of the party is more accommodating to Trump than I would like, in the sense that they think, well, he's got these problems, these deficiencies, this conspiracy stuff's a little kooky, but we want the lower taxes and good judges, and we don't like Biden's policies in area ABC. I don't think they see how serious the threat is of letting the Trumpist conspiracy theorizing kind of run loose. But I agree, there are a lot of decent people who voted for Trump, and I don't think they should have, but they did, and they could be. This is Liz Cheney's point. There are people who could be won back over for conservative policies without the Trumpist conspiracy theorizing. Hawley, Stefanik, they're cynical. Maybe they've talked themselves into it. I can't see into people's hearts and souls, but the degree of just opportunistic cynicism has also been pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, I can't see it. Now, Bill, tell me, I always end my question in this way to say, please tell me something that you think I should have asked you that I didn't.
I mean, I can't think of anything, or I can think of a million things, but of course, this has been a good interview. I've enjoyed it. I would say this, it's interesting, we barely discussed Joe Biden. I think I said I was a Biden Republican, but I do think a lot hinges, I think we all get into, especially people talking to me, of course, they want to talk about Trump and the Republican Party and the conservative movement, totally reasonable. But a lot hinges on Joe Biden succeeding as president, in my opinion. I think we don't quite sometimes appreciate that. If he were to fail, I mean, let's just say fail for reasons beyond his control. I'm not even making a judgment here about. I rather respect his administration and like much of what he's done. But if it all falls apart for some reason or other, I think we're in a world of trouble as a country. We'll have the Trumpism in the Republican Party will get on steroids. The Democrats could go left in response. Maybe there would be some heartening then centrist party or something like a party that would be heartening, that would be hopeful. But I really worry about the radicals. The polarization is already bad. The partisanship's bad. One of the two parties is really toying with being pretty fundamentally, I'd say, anti-democratic. We have one party now holding down the fort, an administration that's trying to be mostly responsible, leadership in the House and the Senate who are mostly being, I think, pretty responsible on the Democratic side. But how long does that last under a lot of stress, economic stress, foreign policy stress, other things? So I really hope the country can pull together under President Biden's leadership, and we can be stronger. And then, then I think we could perhaps work some of the Trumpism out of our system. But I think it's very important that Joe Biden succeed, and that's one reason I'm not doing much. I mean, I don't talk to people in the administration that much. They know what I think, but it's why I wish them well, and to the degree that I can help them in small ways by trying to provide some support from a moderate and conservative point of view for some of their policies, try to persuade them to modify some policies to get more support. It's why I do feel it's important to help Joe Biden succeed, really.
Bill, Kristol, thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
My pleasure, really.
Again, please remember to keep your community radio station, KPFT, in your minds. Talk about it. Tell your friends to tune in to 90.1 FM Houston or listen to kpft.org. Keep us on air by donating what you can afford at our website, kpft.org. Folks, we can do this thing. Again, get any one of my books for a $120 contribution, any two of my books for a $200 contribution, any three of my books for a $250 contribution. What are those books? As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and how to make America utopia. Take away the economy from those who rigged it. Folks, it is that time. We can do this. We can do this. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And how do I end this, baby? I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you.